What's going on, Helldivers? Another tip video for you. Today we're going to go over things the game doesn't tell you. There's no specific order for these, but a lot of them are definitely things you should know. You know, your first day stepping onto the battlefield, Xbox divers, or just new players in general. There's certain things that you learn by just playing the game, and I thought I'd show you guys some of those things. We have over 1,500 hours in the game. We've been streaming the game every single day since it came out over here on YouTube. So let's get on in there, and I'll show you guys. The first tips are about samples. All right, guys, we're down on planet. I just want to show you guys a few things about samples. Reminder, you can drop samples. It never really talks about that you can drop them on your own. This is done on PC by holding X or holding the downward arrow on your D-pad to open up your radio menu, and then you just pick the samples. Also, it doesn't tell you that if you drop samples, this symbol changes depending on how many samples are in the group. On your screen now, I have a little picture to show you guys the different looks of all the samples. A more full, you know, glass is 16 plus, while after 6 plus it's medium, and then under 6 is this small little symbol. So keep an eye out on that. But that really goes over the samples tip for you guys. I see a lot of people also killing each other for samples. Samples apply to the whole team, guys. If you're new, just help the team. Samples apply to everyone. So let's move on to the next tip, POIs. Alrighty, Helldivers, let's go over some POI information. So as you can see, there's that yellow beam in the distance. That means there is a POI right where that is. That could be super credits, or it could be just samples or a weapon. But that is a POI. This is a secondary objective. That artillery you can see over there, that marks it in blue. I marked that by pressing Q on my keyboard. I actually don't know what it is on the controller. Someone will have to let me know in the comments down below. This is also a POI. As you guys can see on the map, it shows up as a diamond. That means there is still things to be looted at this POI, such as a sample. That full cleared it. That's because I already recorded this once and I screwed up my, talking. So I don't actually get my super credits again, but the warp pack does allow me to go through. But that did full clear that right there by picking up that one sample. Let's go find our gold beam that was launching over here. And I'll actually show you guys something that a lot of people don't know. So I'm going to walk into this, POI here. And look, it says it's full cleared, but there's still a yellow beam. Keep that in mind, guys. It typically means samples. If you full cleared all the samples out, the diamond will change into that other symbol. So keep that in mind. You can go around and get super credits on lower difficulties by doing this method. Scanning the map and looking for POIs. Also, if you don't have the warp pack, I recommend bringing a buddy with you so you can open those bunkers. There is a chance that you get 3 super credits. So keep that in mind if you're trying to grind your war bonds. But as you can see, I'm walking around. I'm just looking for little question marks that may show up on my radar at the top or on the screen. But it doesn't seem like there's any POIs over here yet. Want to see if I could find one quickly for you guys, but this is a nest right here. I don't really count those as a POI. That's more of a mission. It's very important to do, but I can just come over here and do that. Those will have samples at it most of the time, guys, so keep that in mind. If you are sample grinding, you should be able to find them, but I'm able to just warp away. Not seeing any POIs currently, but also on these lower difficulties there are less POIs. The map is a little smaller. As you go up in difficulties, there are more samples on the map. But I'm not going to waste you guys' time. That's the POI part of this, tip series. Let's move on. Alrighty, guys. Another tip that's not really explained very well is the boosters. You guys have probably seen the triple booster, or the 3 most important boosters in the game, which is our Hell Pod Space Optimization, the Stamina Enhancement, and the Vitality Enhancement. What if I told you that these actually don't explain the full story, the vitality and the stamina in particular? The vitality enhancement actually protects your limbs, but by doing that, it actually gives us 10% more HP. Remember that, 10% more HP. That is super important when it comes to the battlefield, because more HP, you're surviving longer. On June of 2024, they changed a little bit. It used to be 25% more EXP, or HP, which was fantastic. So looking at the stamina enhancement, you would think, oh, maybe that's like 10%. No, that gives you 22.5% more stamina. That's a lot more running. You also gain faster regen. So in general, you're moving a lot more, which is keeping you alive. And that's another part that a lot of people don't talk about, is the armor passives, or in particular, the armor rating. The armor rating affects your limb health, such as if you're over that, I think there's a threshold, but after a certain threshold, you can take more shots to the head. Having 150 armor, I get that from extra padding on these starter armors. That's why I love them, because that extra padding actually gets us up to a heavy armor rating with our speed and stamina regen staying the same of medium armor. The biggest thing also here is if you have a higher armor rating, think of armor rating as your health. The more armor rating you have, the more limb health you have, the more health you have in general in a pool. So that applies to things such as your resistances. If I have 75% resistance with 150% armor rating, I can actually sit on fire a lot more than I can with 100. And that definitely proves it when you're using a flamethrower or using the double-edged sickle in particular. With a vitality booster, you can almost keep shooting without dying. So keep that in mind, guys. That's just going over a quick look at boosters and the armor ratings. Let's move on to the next tip. Alrighty, guys, for our next tip, I thought I'd go over a little bit inside this Galactic War. I know this isn't the most interesting thing to most people, but I thought I should talk about it because I see a lot of weird things being talked about. So when we're looking at this map, we're not going to look at our defenses right now because they're a little wild. We're going to go over here and we're going to look at Vernon Wells. If you can see the word resistance low, 1.33%. That basically is the same thing as saying decay rate. So every hour, that liberation bar that you see will go down 1.33%. So if we're gaining 1% on this planet and it's going down 1.33, it'll never go up. We want to outrun the resistance rate with our liberation rate. And really figuring out that number is very hard to do in your own head most of the time. So I do highly recommend downloading or looking up the Helldiver Companion app. It is not an app, it's actually a website. But if you look up the Helldiver Companion app, you'll find it. It explains a lot and where to dive. The thing that you're always looking for is if there's a defense here and it's a 24 and the decay rate here is low, you usually can be able to take the planet faster than we could take the defense. So keep that in mind when we talk about gambits. It would take me a whole video to explain it all. Also note that resistance rate does not tell you that there's going to be more enemies on the map or that it's going to be harder. That is only applying on the Galactic War map. Determining what's more difficult in the mission is actually Joel. Joel determines if the planet is going to be harder or easier. Your difficulty also applies to that in a weird way, but that just tells you what type of enemies are on the map or how many enemies there are. But that is not affected at all by the resistance rate. That is up to Joel in the depths. Keep that in mind, guys. That's just a quick look at that tip. I don't want to get too crazy into that. That's a whole separate video for you guys to explain it. Alrighty, guys, for the next tip, we're going to talk about stims and what has been changed since the game even came out. This has changed actually a little bit. So now we have the ability to stim when at full health. That allows us to start the regen while running into combat. Before, you had to actually wait till you lost some health to do a stim when the game first came out. Now we can stim to, you know, rebuild stamina and use it right before we run into combat because it begins that regen rate we talked about in the tip video yesterday. The other thing that's been added in most recently is being able to stim while diving. A little bit harder, but you are able to stim while diving. That has also been new to adding. They don't really talk about it, but it was added in a recent patch to allow us to dive and stim. Awesome. Really big help. A lot of that was not in the game when it first came out. Being able to stim into combat has been one of my favorite changes. I thought I was going to waste stims all the time by pressing that button when I didn't need it. But it's coming to, you know, play that it's super important to use right before running into combat. It really helps out in the long run. So another part, or tip I'm going to run by you guys is I've seen a lot of people going, my eagles aren't coming back. So let me show you. I have 2 different eagles on currently. And if I throw this 500, that's my last 500 that I have. You're going to see it come down. It's going to do its big flashy boom. And what you're going to see now is up in the top left corner, my 500s are now unavailable. And that's because I still have eagles. Because I have Eagle Airstrike, my 500s are no longer available. So actually stacking eagles, you need to use them all or use the eagle rearm to get back your 500s, which rearms all of them. So I do recommend, guys, when you're first getting used to the game, it's best to sometimes only bring 1 eagle. It'll help you out in the long run. That way you can keep getting your 500 to come back as fast as possible. And you're not waiting on, you know, using all your eagles up. So I've seen a lot of people running like a 4 eagle setup. It doesn't really help you. It's best to get those cooldowns going. I always talk about cooldowns being the most important thing and being on top of your stratagems. You can always check them up in the top left corner by hitting your stratagem column button and looking to the top left. A few quick tips for you guys. Let's go talk about extraction tips, though. All right, guys, another quick tip for you. If you call an extraction and you walk out right at the last second, the ship will hover and give you cover fire. it'll allow you to actually clear the map. We're on a blitz, so you wouldn't have to clear as much, but if you were on a regular map, you can just walk away and it will do a little Kaz run for you, basically. Sit up there and just strafe everything. So keep that in mind. I'll show you guys in about 2 minutes what that looks like. All right, guys, so a super important part, don't start to try and run out from the middle. Be right on the edge. As soon as it hits 0, 0, we're going to run out, and it's going to do like a little Kaz hover. I don't typically do this, so hopefully I get it right for you guys on this time, because I just waited all this time. Oh, left a little early. And now I'm going to let him hover. So unfortunately, I don't have my dialogue on, but since he says he's going to land, as you can see, he now just hovers. Simple as that, guys. I like to use the time. He also says coming in for a landing, and then he'll say he'll cover. I know my dialogue's off, unfortunately, but he does. Yeah, guys, that's a little Kaz tip for you. Alrighty, guys, another tip that's not really explained is that if you hold down the reload key, you are able to change different fire types and different even your RPMs of how fast your gun fires. The tenderizer has 2 different firing speeds, along with being able to change to, you know, burst or even automatic. Some weapons come with it on, you know, burst, and you can make it automatic or vice versa. So keep an eye out on that, guys. It affects MGs. It affects different types of ammo types on like the autocannon or the recoilless. So keep an eye out on that. I don't think it's ever actually explained. So definitely an important one to know, guys. I'll see you guys in the next day. If you're looking for purple samples and you see a rock like that and you're wondering if it's the fake one, zoom in. Find our place of interest. There you go. All right, Helldivers, well, that's some tips that the game doesn't really explain. If you guys know of any more for our Xbox divers, leave them in the comments down below. Or if you learned something from this video and you've been playing the whole time, also leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. So yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next tip video. We stream live every single day since the game came out, and I plan to be live every day until. So I'll see you guys down on the battlefield. ODST divers, can't wait to meet you.